In looking at the history of golf in Graaff Reinet, we're very privileged this morning to have with us Bernie Weyer. Bernie was president of the Graaff Reinet Golf Club in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and shepherded the club through that very difficult period. So we're privileged to have him with us this morning to tell us something of the history of golf in Graaff Reinet.
Right, thank you, Rob. We do know that the golf club was founded in 1894, and three gentlemen who were involved in that were Mr. Harold Glennie and the Proudfoot brothers, Charles and Douglas. We'll discuss Douglas a bit more detail later. The location of the first golf course was behind me. There was an existing horse racing track, and the course was laid out around the perimeter of the race course. What is interesting is all the other sports that were taking place at that time. There was archery, cricket, quoits, football, and so golf was just adding to the sports available in Graaff Reinet at that time. There were complaints from the golfers about the dust created by nearby brick fields, and there were movements to look at another course. But possibly the most important motivating factor was the fact that the Graaff Reinet Dam, the Van Rynevelspass Dam, had just been completed, and the golfers got the idea that they could get water from the dam to establish a new course. So after about 30 years, there was a move from this location to another course north of the town. Here we are on the second course, north of the town. The move here was in 1926. The two gentlemen very involved in the move were Kenneth Wiley and Mr. A.S. Meyering, also known as the skipper. But he and Kenneth Wiley had a large part to play in establishing the course in this area. A very formal farewell dinner was held for A.S. Meyering, the skipper, and we are privileged to still have the original of the program and the menu of this dinner. And there were toasts to the king, toasts to the governor general and others. And the reply to one of the toasts was from Mr. Ferdinand Raphael. And why that is interesting is he was the father of Sylvia Raphael, and she later was one of the Israeli Mossad agents responsible for tracking down the terrorists who were involved with the Munich Olympic bombings. Besides the dam, a big plus for this site was the house which had been built for the resident engineer involved with the building of the dam. This house was an ideal clubhouse for the new course. This house subsequently burned down, as is evidenced on the shot behind me. One would surmise that the course would have been in this area, the clubhouse over there, and lane of trees over there. This would have been, in this area, the course. Another gentleman who was very involved with the beautification of this course was Robert Lukoff. He obtained mesquite seeds from the USA, which he proceeded to plant between the fairways. A lasting legacy was also left by Robert Lukoff in that he did a lot of caricatures of the golfers of that day. And those caricatures are still kept in the clubhouse, the existing clubhouse today. However, it would appear that there were a few complaints about this course as well, including that the fairways were very, very rocky. And also it would appear that the water from the dam did not materialize. So after about a decade on this course, once again the golf club moved down south. We're now back south of the town on what was known as the Sunnyside course. We have a layout of this from the surveyor Fritz Setskorn of the 9-hole course. Where we are at this stage is on the 9th hole. The tee would have been back there near the cemetery, and the clubhouse would have been close to the electrical substation. The main layout was back towards the CPA Rhodes apartment buildings. The course moved here in the late 1930s, shortly before the outbreak of the Second World War. And with the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, virtually half the members disappeared from the golf course and went up north, fighting in the Western Desert. And the one effect of the war on the golf course was the scarcity of golf balls. Members could hire a golf ball for a shilling, and if it was returned, you got back 9 pennies. If you lost the ball, bad luck. You had to buy another ball or hire another ball next time you played. And now, one of the other effects of the war was paper and pencils. They went to the trouble of making sure scorecards were filled in with pencil so they could be erased and reused. But once again, golfers started getting restless. It is not clear why the next move occurred. Possibly that the area behind me was due for development by the municipality, but that is not recorded in any minutes. So we're not sure, but the course moved after about 30 years back up north again. 1952, and we have moved once again north to the 4th golf course. This was a 9-hole course, basically behind me, stretching down to the perimeter of the dam. And there were occasions when, if the dam was full, sometimes the ball did disappear into the water. Also behind me was the original clubhouse, which is a rough structure of Garingpala. The 9th green would have been about here, this area. And it was probably another 10 years before the next 9 was added to make this an 18-hole course. In 1963, this course was extended to 18 holes with a back 9, the 10th tee over there, and running down the road would have been the 10th fairway. From there, one needed to cross the Bridgestroom, which was apparently quite deep. I started playing here about 50 years ago. This is the course where I learned to play golf. And I was told by the old timers that the Bridgestroom suspension bridge, there were occasions when boats could travel underneath the bridge. When I played on this course, it was so shallow, there's no way a boat could go underneath there. But yes, it was an 18-hole course, and we had competitions like the Gem Cup, which was played in May, over 36 holes. And I can recall vividly, as a high handicapper, starting late and finishing the 36th hole virtually in the dark. There have been a number of past presidents who have served lengthy terms of office. People like Colonel Bill Kingwell, John Minard Sr., and Reg Holmes. But the record with 12 years service was the late Dr. Johan Heman. And he was an absolutely passionate golfer who would play every Wednesday and every Saturday. And he told his daughters in no uncertain terms that if they decided to get married on a Saturday, he would not be present to give them away. And they all duly got married on a Sunday. At the time I was playing golf on this course, the side bets consisted of balls. You bet in balls. And apparently Colonel Bill, he made a point that he would receive his winnings in the clubhouse. And his reason was that he wanted everybody to see that he had actually won. Because of the laws of the country at that stage, golf club membership was restricted to whites only. And it was in 1988 that Brian Charles proposed that Willie Claassen and Chris Koberg be elected full members of the club. And this was unanimously accepted. Willie Claassen subsequently became club champion on a number of occasions. We also had some notorious competitions. The one which probably stands out was the Christmas competition, also known as the Sherry competition. And this involved the right that you had to erase a bad shot from your card just by slicking a sherry. And it would appear that not many golfers ever finished playing 18 holes. And also it would appear that the caddies had a fantastic time laughing at the antics of their golfers. There were no golf carts at this time, but one gentleman was allowed to use a bicycle, and that was Derek Sullivan. He had rather bad legs, so he was granted the use of a bicycle to get around the course. So we are on golf course number 4, and we are still playing on Karoo courses, which means no grass. On fairways, it was fine. You could put your ball on a ringetje or a piece of AstroTurf, which was a more modern invention. And then the greens were the sand oil mix, which involved when the 4-ball had finished putting, a caddy had to scrape the greens to remove all the footprints and ball marks. But with the building of the back 9, an 18-hole course, the club also at the same time built themselves a new clubhouse behind me. This clubhouse, I have many happy memories of parties, dances, and an occasion which springs to mind about a very, very heavy party took place with a regular golfing pal of mine called Mali Stradom. He was a difficult guy to play with because he had a habit of twirling the golf club in his hands a number of times before we actually hit the ball. It was always a miracle I managed to get the ball, the club face square to the ball. But he did, and he had the one occasion we had the hole-in-one, and Mali had a real thrash in this clubhouse. He had the presence of mind to phone his wife and say, look, come and fetch me, because he was in no state to drive back home after this party. And he was driven back by his wife. He then found himself inside the house, still going through this fantastic hole-in-one shot, and he vaguely recalled hearing some sort of banging in the distance, and later it got more insistent and shouts of Mali, Mali. And then he realized that he'd actually locked his wife in the garage. And he then had to sheepishly go and get her out and endure her wrath for having been locked in for quite a while. But that was one of the big events in this golf club. And the one thing that I remember was sitting in this clubhouse on a hot afternoon. There was a sign on the Middelburg Road showing golf course. A car stopped outside. We saw some people getting out, wandering around the course. And eventually they walked into the clubhouse and looked at us. And the one guy said with a very puzzled frown, "You play golf here?" There are a number of moves in the past to get a grass course. And people like Jack Solomon, Dennis Kirk, Lewis Tilney were trying over the years to find some way of getting a grass course. But the real catalyst came in 1988 with Keith Cretchley arriving at the Union High School. And he, together with Reg Holmes, they seriously pushed getting a grass course. Got committees going, and a lot of hard work started in planning for the grass course. After a lot of meetings and looking for an alternative venue, the ideal site was found south of the town. But there was this question about finance. And the real benefit came when this course was sold to the SA Nature Foundation before it became the Parks Board. Instrumental in getting this done was Buzz Reinet. He wasn't a golfer, but he was very helpful to the golf club in getting the right contacts to get this course sold to the Nature Foundation. Members then got very excited because the grass course was becoming a reality. We have now moved on to the fifth location of the Graaff Reinet golf course, once again south of the town. And this can justly be called the gem of a golf course in the gem of the Karoo. It lies in the horseshoe of the Sundays River with natural undulations over the course. The budgeted cost was 500,000 Rand. And the course, plus the clubhouse, as well as a computerized irrigation system, was all built pretty much on budget. But this was largely due to the input of members who gave lots of their labor in building this. The move to this grass course came in 1993. And shortly after that, we had our first Proudfoot tournament. And this begs the question, who was Douglas Proudfoot? Douglas Proudfoot was and remains South Africa's best amateur golfer. He won his first title in 1883. And he went on to win it for a total of 8 times in a row. The next best SA amateur golfer was a chap called Prentice, won it on 4 occasions, way below Proudfoot. It always bothered me as to why there appeared to be no recognition of Douglas Proudfoot before we started the Proudfoot tournament. We had the Urquhart Cup and the Kerber Cup and the Holmes Cup, a number of other cups, but no Proudfoot trophy. And he had won the Union Steamship Challenge Trophy for the 3rd time. He was awarded this for his to keep. And shortly before his death, he donated this to the SA Golf Union. And in 1931, since that time, the SA amateur golfer who wins the SA amateur golf is awarded the Proudfoot Trophy, which was renamed Proudfoot. We can be justly proud of Douglas Proudfoot, but we have subsequently also unearthed some amazing new talent in this club, like Jean-Louis du Plessis, who was the EP Junior Champion before going to the USA, to college, to play and played golf. He came back here recently and set the course record of 63, which is 9 shots below par. Then we have John Ray Ludick, son of Johnny Ludick, who was captain here for many years. John Ray Ludick has won the EP Open Championships, KwaZulu-Natal Open Championships, has also done extremely well internationally. And then, together with his father Johnny, as well as his uncle Patrick, they recently represented this club in the EP Country Districts team that took part in the Nationals. In conclusion, one can only say that we have a very proud tradition, and I am very proud and privileged to be a member of this golf club.